Hello everyone, it's Lennon. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to do something fun, okay, and imaginative. I thought of an activity that we could do, okay, and I did this like cutesy little worksheet that you can download. I left a sheet for you to download through my coffee page for free. Just go and download yourself one, tack it into your book of shadows or your book of mirrors or your notebook or something, and just have some fun with it. So I'm going to go over the things today. I was going to call it like pimp your broom, but I didn't think YouTube would like that. So the activity is called groom your broom. Now the inspiration for this is I was actually rearranging and cleaning out my bookcase like I have to do so much throughout the year because I tend to buy books all the time. And I came across a children's book called Room on the Broom. I'll leave a picture of the cover here. Excellent. I love that book. Okay, it's about inclusivity and solidarity and friendship and witchcraft, and there's something about this book that always resonated with me as a witch because there's room on my broom, you know? There's room on my broom, baby. Get on, we'll make room. And it's about making room for those that are important to you and the things that are most important to you. And so I highly recommend, like, even if you don't have any children, pick this book up, okay? So it was kind of inspired by this book that I used to read to my kids all year when they were little. And so I thought about how could I groom my own broom. Now, there is a lot of witchcraft practices and craft making that goes into making your own besom in traditional witchcraft. So this could go into that. If you want to go all the way into making your own broom, your own besom, go right ahead. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have done that. Now, I've only decorated brooms before, like pre-made brooms for besoms. I don't even think I still have my besom. And here where I live, like during Christmas time, they have these besoms that you can buy that are like, they smell like cinnamon. I tend to buy those around the holidays, and that can like lead me through the winter months and sweep out, you know, get ready for the season changes and all that. And it smells like cinnamon, so every time you like brush stuff around or use it to kind of dust your main areas or whatever, it was like cinnamon would just waft everywhere. So it's kind of in that vein, but if I just used my imagination, I wanted to be able to like let it fly. So up at the top here, I put, it's like set up like a worksheet, okay, with the little prompts, and you can fill them out, add to it if you want. There's lots of space here. Like I said, I just made this worksheet as if you were to do this in school or something. So the first prompt up here that I have is companion. Who's on the broom with you? You know? I thought, who's going to be, is it going to be my little frog babies, my cat, a toad, a dog, a cat, a bird, like my familiar spirits. Now spirits, I don't tend to think that my spirit guides and all that would need a room on my broom. They're just inside of me. So, you know, there's that. So it's like, who would I be adding to my broom? Now this broom is to me, it's more than a besom because it's not a besom. The broom is a symbol of the witch. And I kind of touched on my symbol and symbols of my witchcraft in a Substack recently, where I've pretty much decided that the tooth is my symbol for my witchcraft. What I want the symbol of my whole craft to be. But the broom, all the way back through medieval times, I'm sitting here thinking about the time of Goya, and even farther beyond that. There's so many eras of witchcraft lore that involve a broom. And so what I want to be able to start there too. What the broom represents. It represents flight. It represents hedge riding for me. It represents Sabbath work, going to the Sabbath. But that's also could be astral travel. And like I said, path walking, path working, hedge riding. All of those are pretty different, although quite similar things. And depending on what tradition or folk or culture you abide inside of your witchcraft, those all would come into account. But if you, like in my culture, right, like I'm pretty much a folk witch thing. So, I mean, I kind of, some of the folks that I use, and I can without like, you know, appropriating or anything, seem to be kind of, you know, like a mutt witchcraft. I have a mutt witchcraft, and if I think about American folk, like Appalachian, stuff like, I don't know, stuff like that, I think I could safely say that the broom wouldn't have much symbolism in my today world, in my today craft. So, but because of who I am, and because I like that kind of primal version of my witchcraft, and like delving into that type of history, like the history before history type thing, if I think about witchcraft in that context, then I think, okay, how can I link the symbol of antiquity to today? Again, most people would have bridged that gap by coming up with a besom. That's how that happened. But if we leave the besom part out of it, could the broom still represent things that I do in my witchcraft today? And that's the rub, you know? And if it wouldn't factor in to whatever the craft is for you, pick another symbol, you know? Like, we could go hocus pocus on this. You could decorate your vacuum, for all I care, or your dirt devil. I think that would be pretty cool to decorate my dirt devil for some witchcraft shit. I mean, it's called the dirt devil, you know, like that handheld vacuum. I use that thing all the time. So, I don't know, maybe I should have used this Groom my dirt devil. Okay, so, first one was companion. Who's on your broom with you? Who's traversing, I like that word, traversing your witchcraft with you? You know, this could be your influencers. This could be your witchy friends. The ones that you're learning from. That's what I would think. The ones you're, like, it's a good exchange and reciprocity and loyalty and friendship. So, the next one is string color. Because, you know, okay, colors have magical properties. And string. Like, you could say what kind of string it is. Is it twine, like cotton thread? Is it hemp? I'm not sure what the traditional, I would assume that it would be cotton for regular brooms. Cotton twine. Anyway, it can be embroidery thread for all I care. You know? Like, what type of, now for me, cotton, I have a huge ball of cotton thread. Like, or cotton twine. Like the stuff you could do, I could use it in the kitchen to tie my chicken legs up. I can use it to hang things. I use it to tie packages together. It's a universal twine, you know, and it's pretty sturdy, although not quite as sturdy as my nylon. And I use my nylon for like my necklaces that I make. Like if I make malas or rosaries, I tend to use my strong nylon because those will hold up through a lot of wear. So I got nylon, cotton, and I got a roll of hemp. Now hemp, it's aggravating. It's really aggravating. So I don't like to use hemp for things that I'm going to be touching. So I tend to use hemp for things that I'm going to, like my wall art type thing, like my macrame, or things that I'm going to be hanging up to just like let sit. Although they do collect a lot of freaking dust. So I used to have this huge driftwood piece that I had drilled shepherd's hooks into to hang my sage bundles, and I used the hemp as the harness to make a harness to adhere to the wall. So it was harnessed by the hemp, but then I had my sage sticks all hanging from the piece of driftwood. So I had that hanging in the kitchen for a long time, but it just collected so much dust. So, but what string could I use? And then what color, right? Like, that you're stitching. All this is in the imagination, right? Unless you're making your own broom. But what color would embody the most magic, give it the most potency, represent, you know, your witchcraft specifically, or a coven's witchcraft? You know, maybe your coven has specific colors. I know I have a friend that's red, black, and white. So they would use those threads, right? Those thread colors. That would be kick-ass. To have like this kind of mascotic color code, you know, color palette. Okay, then some of these are quite funny. One of them I put was light fixture. Hear me out, okay? In Room on the Broom, they have this like thing that looks like a if you're familiar with like boombox antennas. I'm in the antenna version. You had to pull the antenna and move that thing around for the radio to work. I'm thinking it like acted like that. It came up like a and then it had like a little lantern on top of it. Like at the very, well, it would be the backside. It'd be on the backside where the bristles are. Or no, it was on the front side. So it was on the handle. I'm sorry, it was on the handle so you could see where you're going. Although if I'm in the air on a broom and that's lights in my face like this, or even at my chest, if there's like a big light fixture here, the light's shining like a flashlight like this, I'm not going to be able to see anything. So it really doesn't work. So mine probably would hang off of my broom so that it's lighting up like around my feet area instead of up here, because the way that the eyeballs and periphery works, I can't have any light right in front of me. So I don't know, that's kind of silly. I'd probably have some kind of really cool Moroccan looking lantern. It wouldn't exude a lot of light, but it would be like this like stained glass type lantern. I have those hanging in my garden out here. I love them so much. You just pop like a fake candle in them. They really make the garden pop. I love them. I love lanterns. But the ones that are all brightly colored with different colors, like a stained glass, beautiful. I'd probably have something like that. Like I said, it wouldn't exude a lot of light, but it'd be pretty. It would look like me. Okay, I'd be like, oh, there goes Lennon. And then the seat, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, say you're a cowgirl. You know, you're over in Texas wrangling fucking cows and shit. You probably want some kind of thing that's semblance of a saddle. In my head, okay? I'm going stereotypical with this. But what if it's a saddle, you know? Have some kind of adherence to the very middle of the broom, somehow aerodynamic, to where you could have a saddle, and it would be just like riding a horse up in the air. I think that would be cool. Or a bicycle seat, which would be the most comfortable. Because I know that for me, if I'm sitting on a broomstick handle, that's not very comfortable. I'd be all black and blue down there. I'm gonna have to have me a seat. But I don't know which seat. I like the idea of a saddle, but I'm not very good with the saddle. Actually, that's not true. I'm not very good with horses. I'm good with saddle. I'm just not good with horses, because the few times I've ridden a horse, I've not been very good at it. So, now wood has there are a lot of really good woods. Okay, the Celtics have like a few sacred woods, and I thought that for mine would be yew, right? Like a yew wood, yew tree. But that's not really native to my area. And as a folk practitioner, I have to think about that. I have to take that in consideration. That I don't think I've ever seen a yew tree in real life. They just don't grow here. Same with rowan. Like a lot of the trees aren't native to me. And, you know, pine is native to me. And it's a sacred tree for me, for my folk magic. But it's it's a brittle wood. I can't even make a broom out of that. Unless I was into woodworking and could somehow chuck it out and make it like they would a wooden plank. I don't got the equipment for that. But something like oak, I could probably use, because that's like a sturdy wood, and it's native here. I know the oak very well. So it's like, you could even like dive into their magical properties and figure out, again, it's not really that I'm making this, it's that in my head, I have to think about this, like, oh, well, yew doesn't grow here, so I wouldn't have access to it, or equipment for some of this kind of stuff, so I'm telling you, my imagination's gone wild with this, but it's been pretty fun. The next one is the bristles. Again, like I was saying with those cinnamon bristles that you can get at Christmas, those are made out of, I don't remember. I can't remember what those are made out of. But you can figure out what kind of straw. You can use branches, some kind of bramble. I think that that's probably what I would use, is some kind of like viney bramble. Like my blackberry bush, I mean, their tendrils, their bramble tendrils just go and go and go and go. During the growing season, like right now, I mean, I think one of their tendrils, their fronds, whatever you call it, are like, I mean, long, 20 feet long, just down my fence. And they're flimsy like this, like vines, but they're thicker than just like a vine, like a ivy or a kudzu. So that means that what my great grandmother would have called good switch material, if y'all know what a switch is. Okay, I feel bad for you if you do. So it's got a good whip to it, but it's sturdy enough to where that if you do like, it won't snap. And when it's dried, it's pretty good too in terms of durability. For, you know, the broom. And you don't want the broom too malleable, because then it's not doing anything. It's just moving, you know, back and forth, like, and you're not doing anything in terms of cleaning. Now, I do have quite a bit of blackthorn on my property, and that is some good wood. Really good wood, but it's blackthorn. Okay, every single time I mess with blackthorn, I get pricked, and them thorns are about this big. Okay, I get pricked. It's like it demands a sacrifice every single time I go out to forage. So what I can see has died off, and so I go out there picking what's dead. Every time, my hands come back bloody. And I'm even being careful. No, I'm stupid for not wearing gloves, but, you know, what can I say? When I'm out walking the property or whatever and I come across it, I'm not going back for gloves. I'm just going to pick it up. Maybe it's my own fault. Maybe it's not even the plant. I think of it as a sacrifice. I'm giving this plant the sacrifice of my blood to be able to take it. Okay. Hanging charms is the next one. And now, I'm thinking, like, if you're into charm work or into charm bracelets or divination, things that, symbols, okay, this is like sympathetic magic. This could be apoplectic magic, protection, talismanic magic. I would seem to think that charms there's a multitude of ways you can utilize charms on your broom. I tend to be an amulet talisman girl. I do have a thing of charms, but I'm not interested in doing that a lot. So like getting them out and casting them per se. In terms of divination, I'm more of a card girly for that. But in terms of what I want to portray, I could use some kind of charm. You know, I could even carve, and this is where I think too. If I don't want a specific charm, I could carve a tarot card thing in the wood. I could carve things into the wood. That probably could be something else I would add to this paper, is like carvings. Maybe this is a favorite quote of yours, or something that you found out of a book. Something like that. So charms, you know, you could hang stuff from the whole thing. Have the whole thing tingle like wind chimes as you're flying about. That would be so cool, wouldn't it? Okay, and then one of the last ones is flying ointment. Now, like I said, for me, the broom has a lot of context with the Sabbath, okay? And typically, witches were making these flying ointments to put on the broom and then insert the broom for their psychedelia. We're not going to do that. I'm not doing that. Okay? You can do what you want. I'm not doing that. But I like to make flying ointment. I didn't always like to make it because I tended to want to try out the ones that had the more poisonous plants involved. But I knew that I'm sensitive. Like my skin's really sensitive. And I'm not really sensitive in a digestive way, but I didn't want to test myself either. So, I don't know. It was just one of those things. I kind of always sometimes felt like when I made it the safe way, that I was making it the safe way. Like that it wasn't really working because I was making it the safe way. And I don't know, maybe one day, you know, it's like, if that's on my bucket list before I die, maybe not the insertion thing. Okay. I don't think I can do that. But the put, like, maybe do a balm or something, like to put on the skin or on the forehead right here, or just like on the neck, kind of like where you would put vapor rub, you know, to where that scent wafts, the vapors would waft throughout the throughout your sleep, and then that's how you could fly. That's how I would do it, as like a nighttime. I would make a whole ritual, nighttime ritual, on placing the flying ointment around me, and then picturing my broom that I'm grooming, and fly off to wherever. So, do you have a flying ointment recipe, right? Or do you have a shop that makes them that if you ever need it, you could go there, you know? That's really what this is for. If you're not wanting to make it yourself, then you could just write down whether you intend to use some kind of aid, herbal aid, in your flight. You can even add herbs to the bristles. I mean, the possibilities are endless with this. And like I said, this is just for fun. And then last but not least on this is the incantation. Now, we can't all be like witches that just kick off from the ground and what do they say? Fly about. To me, flying takes practice. Astral flying, lucid dreaming, being able to visualize certain aspects of the other world, a lot of that takes practice, you know? And some people don't even have the ability to traverse in those ways because due to lack of visualization. And even if they practice, they can't do it. So, I don't know. It would be like, there could be something tangible without so much visualization, maybe that we could try in terms of an incantation. And it's like, you get down into a calm state, right? You don't have to go into a visualization state, but maybe just like a mindful, grateful, grounded state, and then somehow spit out a word or a phrase of an incantation, of a spell, and that sends the message that you're out there, like a little lightning bug flying about, right? I don't know. So that's it. Add, subtract, doodle this, draw your very own broom, groom your broom. You know, I think this is so fun. But I mean, I know it's kind of kiddish to have like a little activity worksheet, like one of those days in schools where there's nothing to do. I like stuff like that. I want to get in touch with my play, and I want to add certain aspects of my modern life to my inner child, to, like, I want to be able to say that these are serious things that I want to work on in my witchcraft. Serious things like incantations and flying ointments, and figuring out what my moral take is on flying ointments and baneful herbs and poisonous plants and stuff like that. What is my relationship to some of the woods and the bristles and the materials that I would use, the magical properties. There's serious things that alongside this activity, there's like a story behind it, and a way for me to get in touch with what's most important in my witchcraft, which I think is the whole point. Activities like this should have a point. It's like reading a story with a moral, you know? It's so important to keep our mythology alive. My witch mythology. I want to keep that alive. So, okay. I hope this was fun. And I hope that you groom your broom. Don't forget to go down below to my Ko-fi page and download the PDF. I hope you're having a great day. Much love.